All right, let's take a look at our assignment for this week. This is going to be fun because we're getting into Photoshop. So for week one, you are going to be creating a desktop wallpaper. I don't even know what I have for desktop wallpaper right now. Let's see. I probably have like so many things. Oh, it's going to be a whole thing for me to get over into my desktop. I can see that already. But my desktop wallpaper is actually not very fun right now. So there's that. I think it's like the generic one that came with the computer. But it is fun to make a custom desktop wallpaper. And it's a great way to familiarize yourself with the tools in Photoshop. So let's go over the background for that this week. And you can create whatever you would like for a desktop. Please do not recreate exactly what I'm creating because it's not going to be good. I'm just going to kind of show you the different tools, but I'm not going to get totally crazy about this. So here's our background for this week's assignment. There are a number of ways to create designs in Photoshop. There's the brush tool, and there's a link to each of these tools right here in the assignment. The gradient tool, the paint bucket tool, the pen tool, and the shape layer tool. They're all ways that art can be made with this software. So this week, we're going to look at shape layers as a simple way to create both vector and raster images. So the shape layers, I'm going to open up each tool just so we can follow along, is found in your tool panel, and the shape layers include the ellipses tool, the rectangle tool, the polygon tool, the line tool, and the custom shape tool. Once selected, 3 shape mode options are available at the top of the screen. Those are shape, path, and pixels. So the shape mode creates a vector shape that can be easily resized, edited, and changed, and you can change the color. The path mode creates a path which can then be stroked, filled, edited, or turned into a selection. The pixels creates a raster shape. It isn't easily edited though, so increasing the size of this object after placing it will result in a blurry or pixelated shape. Then you have the ellipses, rectangle, and line tool. The ellipses, rectangle, and line tool are just simple shape layers that can be drawn by simply clicking and dragging. Holding down the shift button will make a perfect circle or turn your rectangle into a perfect square. You would want to use the ellipses tool when you're drawing a circle or an elliptical shape, and you would want to use the rectangle tool when you're drawing a square or a rectangle shape. And you would want to use the line tool when you're drawing a line. So Photoshop makes it kind of easy with those. Then there's a polygon, which allows you to draw a many-sided shape. This feature would be used on an image when you want to add a polygon shape, a star, or another multi-sided shape to an image. An added feature of this tool is the ability to transform that shape into a star with however many points that you want. There are also options to change the quality of the quality of the star shape, increasing or decreasing the depth of the points, or creating smooth corners or smooth indents by clicking on the gear icon at the top of the screen and changing the settings that appear in the dialog box at the top of the screen. Then you have a custom shape. So the custom shape tool gives designers access to Photoshop's custom shape library. And the custom shape library is a collection of default shapes and symbols that can be drawn just by clicking and dragging, which is really cool. So it's possible to also draw and save your own shapes and add them to the custom shape library, as well as purchasing and downloading additional custom shapes and installing them. So let's have some fun and use these tools in the creation of your project. Here is our prompt for this week. So the prompt always contains the instructions for the assignment. So for this assignment, you're going to create your first Photoshop project. It's going to be a desktop wallpaper design that utilizes Photoshop's shape tools. This is your first project, so it's your chance to experiment with the tools and interact with the software. Feel free to create any design that you like. All right, so let's follow along with the prompt here. First, we're gonna open up Photoshop. Yours probably will have nothing under recent. So I'm gonna go to the Learn tab so that way we all look the same, okay? Next, you're going to create a document that is 1024 pixels wide and 768 pixels tall. Don't accidentally make your document inches or it's going to be a ginormous document. So you can click create new right here. This will be the easiest way to get in and do this. I want you to go over to web. That's going to ensure that you are in pixels and you're at 72 pixels per inch. So we're gonna go to, and actually I'm gonna turn on my keycaster for you. Keycaster will show you, except for when I'm holding down Option, which drives me bananas, but it'll show you the keys that I'm holding. So it's gonna show all of my keys. Like right now I'm holding, if I hold down Command Tab, you can see it's right there. All right. So I'm going to make this 1024 by 768 at 72 pixels an inch. Oh, whoops, wrong program. All right, 1024 by 768 by 72 pixels per inch. You can leave it at RGB, and this one is really up to you. You can choose to work on a white background, a black background, or a background color, or transparent. Personally, I like to work on transparent. It's just a personal preference. It's whatever you would like to work on. And then you're gonna click the big blue create button. And here it is, your first document. So you wanna save your document as a PSD file, and you're gonna name it DES104 assignment 1 first last.psd. So I'm gonna copy this. And before we've done anything, we wanna get into the habit of saving our files the way they need to be saved. I put in the announcements an organization on how to organize your files. Please watch it. It is going to make your life so much easier going forward. So you'll notice I have a Mod 7 folder here. I went into my Mod 7 folder, DES 104, week 1. I'm going to make a folder and I'm going to call it assignment. And then I'm going to paste in my naming convention and I'm going to change it to S. McNamara. Always put your first initial with your last name because some of you have the same last name. So I know whose file is whose. And then just click OK. Next, you're going to create a new layer and fill it with a background color using the paint bucket tool. So let's go in. You'll notice we have artboard here and layer 1. I'm going to leave layer 1 where it is and I'm going to make a new layer. Now, I want to just point out that this is how I have my screen set up. I'm in Essentials right now. This is the way that I like to work, is in the Essentials workspace. If you are in something else, such as maybe graphic and web or photography or 3D or something, it might look a little bit different. I like to work in Essentials. Again, it's just a personal preference. If your layers palette is not open or if you don't have palettes open that you see on my screen, go up to Window, scroll down to Layers, and just click on it, and that will open it. It will also open any palette that you accidentally closed. So currently I have Layers open, I have Libraries open, I have Channels and Paths open, you can see them right there, and I have Adjustments open, History, Swatches, and Color. That's what I have open right now, if you want to open up the same things as me. You can see all of them over here. So I'm going to just pull out my layers panel to make it easier for you guys to follow along with me. You don't have to do this. You can leave it where it is. If you pulled it out though and you're like, oh, I want to put it back, just drag it and pop it back in. See how it turns blue and gets that blue outline? That pops it back in. So I'm gonna create a new background or layer, and I'm going to name it background, layer 2. So I want to double click on it, and I'm going to name it background. And I need to go to the paint bucket tool, which is underneath. They used to have it by itself. Now you gotta go find it. It is. They put it somewhere dumb too when they put it somewhere. It's like under, I was saying, it's like under the gradient tool, which makes no sense. So here's the paint bucket tool. Like I said, it used to be like in here by itself, but it's under the gradient tool. So what this is gonna do is I want you to literally think of a bucket of paint and a plain white floor. Imagine if you had gallons and gallons of paint and you just dumped it on the floor. That is what the paint bucket tool is going to do. So I have 2 colors right here. Your default is probably black and white right now, but there's a couple of different ways that you can add some colors in. So you can go to color and make a color in the color panel. You can go to swatches and just kind of see what there is. You can load swatches. So if you go down and I clicked on the little 4 lines right there, change it to large thumbnail. You can see the swatches a little bit better. Maybe you want to go to web safe colors or web hues because we're working in 72 DPI, and it's going to be a desktop monitor, which is web safe. I don't want to save them. There we go. You can click and select any color and see how it shows up right here. That's your foreground color. This is your background color. It doesn't really matter when it comes to the paint bucket tool what you have it set as. But if you accidentally set the background color and you want that to be your foreground color, if you just click where these 2 little arrows are, it switches them. See? So with the paint bucket tool selected, I am going to click and dump paint all over that background. So let me show you that one more time. I'll do it blue this time. I clicked on the paint bucket tool, which is also the letter G to get to it. And I'm going to click inside of where it says artboard, and now it's blue. If I want it to be red, now it's red. Every time I click, it's going to fill the whole space because it's just like dumping paint everywhere. All right, so I've gotten past my first thing I need to do. Then I'm going to use 3 of the 4 shape layer tools: the ellipses, rectangle, polygon, and then 1 custom shape tool to create an abstract composition. So let's go back in. Now, you are going to notice up here that you have an elliptical marquee tool, a rectangle marquee tool. These are not your shape tools. These are marquee tools, which are for making selections. You can fill that selection in, but it's not an actual shape. The shape tools, if we scroll down, are right here. So when you click and drag, it opens up all of them. Click and hold on. So you have your rectangle shape tool, your rounded rectangle shape tool, your ellipses tool, your polygon tool, your line tool, and your custom shape tool. So let's go to the rectangle tool first. I like to work on different layers for different things. So that way, if I need to make edits, it's a little bit easier to see what layer I need to make my edits on. So I am going to make a new layer right now by clicking in my layers panel again, clicking on the little piece of blank paper down here at the bottom, create a new layer, and I'm gonna double click and I'm gonna name this rectangle shape, and I'll just say 1. Because every time you do a different shape, you're going to want to give it its own layer. So I'm gonna click and drag. And then I'm going to go up here into this panel. See how it says shape? Or I could do path, or I can do pixel. I want to do shape. Now, it put a stroke on there because this was my border color, that blue, but I don't want that, okay? So I'm gonna go, this clear box with the red slash through it means no fill. So I'm gonna set that to no fill right there. But I do want the rectangle to have a fill, and you can see that it's got my swatches up here and it's got some recently used colors. I actually want white. So here's my first one, my first rectangle shape, and I made just a white stripe. So I could continue to make white stripes here and fill the whole thing with white stripes, but I want to show you a little trick. I am going to select this layer, my rectangle shape 1, and I'm going to drag it on top of the new layer icon. And it makes a copy of it. And now I can use my move tool, which here's my move tool. You can hit V to get to your move tool. And I can hold down shift and just kind of click and drag. And then know what I'm going to do? I'm going to select both of these by holding down shift. So I've selected now both of these layers, and I'm going to bring them down on top of the new layer and let go. Now I have made a copy of both of these layers. So we hold down shift and click and drag. All right, now I've got 4 squares. I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to grab all 4 of these squares now. Dragging on top. I get 4 more squares, or lines. I guess they're lines. There we go. Next, grab all of these. And drag. All right, so this one went off the edge right here. If I right click on it, it shows me, or if I close up artboard, it shows me the one that's off the artboard. I can just delete it and open them back up. So now I have all these rectangle shapes, which is starting to make a pattern background, right? I'm going to hit select. I'm going to select the first one, hold down shift, and I'm going to scroll all the way down. While holding shift, I'm going to select the first one. So I have them all selected. And then I'm going to grab and create a new group. So I'm going to click on this create a new group, and it's going to put all of those rectangles into this folder. It just keeps them nice and organized. And I'll name it rectangles. So that's my first shape, is I've added all of these rectangles. All right, so I need to use at least 4, or at least 3. So I've done the rectangle. Maybe now I want to have some ellipses, some circles. So I'm going to go to my shape tool, and I'm going to go down to the ellipses tool, and I actually want to, I want to click on this red, which was my background color, and I just want to make it, a little different, a little bit darker. So I'm going to go to right here. That's nice. And I want to add this color to my swatches. So I'm going to click add to swatches, and I'm going to name it darker red, we'll say, so I know which one it is. And then I'll click OK. And here it is in my swatches. It put it in my swatches library. If you don't have any libraries set, it actually put it in the wrong library. Let's say yours says My Library and you want it in a library for DES 104, click, and if your libraries are not open, remember, window, libraries. Click Create New Library. Name it. I'm going to name mine DES 104 Mod 7. I'm going to hit Create. And then I'm going to go to the library, put it in by accident. This is 242, which is not this course. And if I right click on this or control click on it, I can say move to and put it in my DES 104 Mod 7. I have a ton of libraries. You'll have like one at this point. There we go. And here it is, right where I need it to be. All right. So now that I've created a new color for myself, I've saved it to my library, I'm going to make some ellipses. So you can see that you can make ones that are not proportional. If I hit the shift key now, ooh, proportional, scales proportionally. I'm going to make some proportional circles because it's good to get into the habit of that. And again, well, I don't know if I want a stroke yet. Let's see. I'm going to copy the fill color, which is right here. I clicked on that gear. Copy that fill color. Should have added it. And it didn't. Okay. Copy fill. Good. All right, or just load my swatches from my library. Why are you being dumb? All right, it put it in my recently used, even though I didn't use it. Maybe once I copied it, put it in there. Sometimes weird things happen in my Photoshop that might not happen in yours. Or it could be I just clicked the wrong button. These things happen. All right, so I'm on the fence about whether or not I want to give it a stroke. And I actually do. I want to give it a gradient stroke, which may seem a little bit weird, but hear me out for a second. So I clicked on gradient to bring myself here, and this is what I want to do. I'm getting a little crazy now. I want this color where it says white, I actually want it to be, I double clicked. I want it to be that red I made. So I'm going to hit that and hit OK. And then this color, I'm going to leave it as black where it says color stop. But up here where it says opacity, I'm going to change it to 80. Let's see what this looks like. And see how it makes it, kind of makes it look like just a little bit darker, like the opacity, like you can still see, it's like a shadow coming through. You can kind of see the border coming through. So that's my ellipses. I'm just going to do one. And next thing I want is maybe a custom shape, because those are fun. So let's do custom shape next. I'm going to make a new layer. We name it custom. And this one I know I'm not going to want a stroke. I'm going to want that darker red. And let's see what they have for shapes. So the shapes are located over here. I'm not gonna lie, I don't use this very often, but it's fun for this. So I'm gonna do a lightning bolt, maybe. I don't know why it defaulted the fill back to some weird color, but oh, you know what? Why don't we'll make the lightning bolt this really bright yellow. And then just click and drag. And now I have a fun lightning bolt going through my ellipses shape. And you know what? I want to make sure it's centered perfectly in my ellipses shape. So I'm going to name this lightning. If you click, double click where the name is, you can rename things. And I'm going to hit select. I'm going to select both of these layers. And up here, I get my alignment tools. So I want to make sure it's aligned vertically center and aligned horizontally center. So I was off a little bit right there. But I was pretty spot on right here. And then I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to, with both of these selected, I'm going to click on the group, and I'm going to put them in a group, and I'm going to name these lightning. And what I can do is I can make a couple of different ones. So I can make some copies of them. So I'm going to grab this whole group right here and put this on top of my new layer. And I can have lightning 2. Maybe move it down here. And then have lightning 3. Move it down. You know, just stuff like that. And then I can go into this ellipses and see right here where it popped up the properties. Here's the details on it. I can change things if I want. So I'm going to double click on the color, and maybe this one, I want it to be blue. And I want that gradient inside to be blue. Double click right there. Click right here. Hit OK. I'm going to leave the yellow for it. And then I'll close that one up. And then maybe for 3 ellipses, maybe this one I want to be purple. Man, that's hard to see. Maybe some like crazy, wow, that is crazy. Crazy green. And the same thing right here. Double click. Okay. So again, pretty crazy. And again, that was in the properties panel. So you can go to Windows, Properties, if you closed it out and you want to see what it is for each of them. I'm going to close this. Then I'm going to grab these, and what I want, all 3 of my groups. And I want to distribute them vertically centered, which apparently I got it spot on. It would actually adjust this one to make sure that it's the same amount of space. Sometimes, ooh, I was off just a smidge. And then I was going to say, and then horizontally, just off a smidge on that one. Sometimes I even impress myself. All right. So this is cool and all, but I'm not, you know, I'm not sold on the red background now that I've added in all these other crazy funky colors. I feel like this one's getting lost, and sometimes people have a hard time seeing red on top of green on top of red if they're colorblind. So I want to adjust my background. I'm going to go and find a color that I might like. Maybe something not as crazy, right? Maybe like a light, this color. Yeah, let's try this color. So again, I'm going to go in my paint bucket tool, and I have background selected. So even if I click right here where my white is, it doesn't matter because I'm on the background layer. So that's fun. But I want these to be a little bit bigger. So because these are shapes and they're vector, they're not raster, I can resize these. So I selected all 3 again in the artboard, and I'm going to go up to Edit, and I want to go to Transform, and I want to say Scale. And it'll give me this bounding box. Here's the thing. You always want to scale it proportionally. So you want to make sure that this is locked, that the width and the height are locked to maintain that ratio so it scales proportionally. And that means that this number needs to equal this number. Once you get it to where you want it to be, hit enter, and that will set that on your page. So I've done a lot on this page, so I'm going to hit save and save my file. All right, so let's look and see what it is that we need to save this as. All right, this is important, really important. You need to save your file first as a PSD file. If you do the save as and save it as a JPEG and close out, you are not going to be able to get back into your layers. So I want to show you this. So if you ever see like an asterisk, see how I move this and now there's an asterisk right here? That means that my file has not been saved since it hasn't been saved since its last save. So I'm going to hit save again, Command S. It's saved, no asterisks. Now I'm going to do a file save as, and in the drop down right here, I want to save it from, change it from Photoshop to JPEG. If you just go in and name it .jpeg, that does not save it as a JPEG. All it does is save it as a corrupted file that I cannot open. When you get to your JPEG options, you can just leave it how it's set and hit OK. And there we go. I'm going to close this out. So now I've closed out my PSD file. What if I didn't save the PSD file? Okay? What if I only saved it as a JPEG and then I realized, oh, I needed a PSD file for this week too. I have to upload both of them. So you open up your JPEG. Guess what? There's only one layer and it's flattened. And for some reason, when you design with artboards, it does this. I don't know why. It's pretty dumb. It's okay though, because I showed you on an artboard, but that happens. It's annoying. But all of your layers are gone. You only have your layers in your PSD file. So now in the PSD file, I can make changes and fix things. I can't fix anything in this. I need to recreate this. So please don't forget to save those artboards and have them, have that PSD file, because you need to show your PSD file to me. You need to submit both your PSD and your JPEG this week. And this is how you're going to do that. So scroll all the way up to where it says submit assignment. You need to choose a file and then add another file. So first I'm going to choose. And again, this is where naming your files and your folders, it's important. It makes it easier to find things. So I'm going to grab first my JPEG, and then I'm going to click to add another file, and I'm going to choose file. I'm going to choose my PSD file. And then you can put in the comments, like, here are my files. And then you'll click submit assignment. And it's going to upload. It takes a minute, especially if your PSD file is kind of big because you've done a lot of stuff on it. And then if you need to double check and make sure, you'll see it under your submission. It's been submitted on July 8th at 2:41 p.m. and here are the details. And you can download those files that you submitted. So that is a good thing, because sometimes people have lost files on their computer because they don't have, a backup hard drive, or they don't have the cloud that they're backing up to. So you can go in and download your old files from your old courses. Don't get into the habit of that just in case, but it is a way to get your files. But again, if you haven't yet, please invest in an external hard drive. I use the My Passport for Mac. Oops. I think I have like, how big is this thing? I have a 4 terabyte one, which is ginormous, and I'm nowhere even close to using it up. And you can get a 4 terabyte one for 116 bucks. I think like the 2 terabyte ones, which again will be more than enough space, 70 bucks on Amazon. It is worth its weight in gold. So please consider doing that. All right, so after you have submitted your assignment, you can, look over the rubric, make sure that you have everything correct and upload it. Then you have an assessment for this week. So I'm not going to do a demo of the assessment. The demo of the assessment, or the assessment how to do it, is in your video that you need to watch for your readings and videos in week 1. However, I will go over the objectives for the assessment.